Hello and welcome to my playthrough of Final Fantasy Tactics. This would be the 11th story mission of the game, Araguay Woods. Now, if you've been watching my videos, then you'll know that I'm trying to play through the game without doing any random battles, i.e. without leveling outside of the story missions. That's pretty much the explanation for what I'm about to try to do here. Now, at this point, I'd usually start talking about the strategy that I'm going to employ for the fight, but I don't really have much strategy for this fight, because, honestly, I think this is maybe the easiest fight in the game. You see, we're still carrying two really powerful guests in Agrius and Gafgarion, and Gafgarion himself can take on pretty much almost the entire map here and not die, so it's not really too hard. I'm going to save Boko here, just so that there's a little bit of suspense, but, well, actually, I might also want to use him later. But really, I don't know. I'm going to go in and fool around, pretty much. So here we've got Gafgarion, and he's just going to charge straight at those goblins. And I'm not going to go anywhere near that side of the map, so good luck with that, Gafgarion. So, Ramza has one mission and one mission only at this point. I am going to preach to Ilya. And I'm doing this because I want to raise her faith. I'm in the process of transitioning her from a physical damage dealer to a spellcaster, and that's not working, unfortunately. But when it does work, each of those will raise her faith permanently by 1, and since it's in the high 40s right now, and she'd be a pretty bad caster, so I need to raise it up into the 60s, preferably the 70s. So, since this is a fight which is basically trivial, I figured I could take this opportunity to do that here, since it won't really cost me much to do that. And Ilya herself is a time mage, so she can haste Ramza. The other reason she's a time mage is because I want to qualify her for the summoner class, because I'd like to use her as a summoner, which is why I want to make her a better spellcaster, so on and so forth. There is a big plan to all of this. It has mostly to do with the later fights in Chapter 2, so in these easy early fights, I'm just completely mailing it in to some extent. And that's not working. That's why she needs to be a better caster. Also, what is with these goblin names? Kappas. That one's kind of... I could feel a goblin named Kappas. Yarniz, okay. Seshpos, though. Okay, I want to know, like, who was it who said, please put Seshpos into the list of random names for goblins? And apparently my grand plan here isn't working, which is kind of unfortunate. Might as well add that Ramza is now a thief, because I'm planning to make him a Lancer later. Lancer's a really good class for having lots of HP and being able to attack people without getting countered, which is what I'm going to want him to be able to do later, particularly when he has to fight Gafgarion, but we can get to that later. So this Black Goblin is pretty much the only one on the map that actually cares about the Chocobo, so we have to save Boko from him. Speaking of which, I was a little surprised when I discovered this, but this is actually Ygraf's Chocobo. He has exactly the same name. I don't know why they would do that unless he was exactly the same Chocobo. And Agrius is going to stop this Goblin for me, just because this fight wasn't quite easy enough yet, so let's trivialize it by making the only Goblin who's getting in your way stop. I can't quite kill him. 20 damage is okay. Alright, so maybe she can land a time magic, a haste. Yeah, it's still 64% because he still hasn't landed any of those preaches. Now, actually, there is one more goblin in the way, so maybe I'll just rush over there and paralyze him. Which is pretty much the only spell that I ever cast as an oracle, apparently. There might be a few down in there that I would also like to try, but paralyze is just so much better than anything else. Okay, we did get the Ramza haste, that's good. Yeah, paralyze is just so much better than the other options that you can can take for just a few job points. I think the other one's blind, and that's just a terrible, terrible state of sail. It almost doesn't seem to work. Gafgarion's finally getting hit for 18, or for nothing. These goblins do not know what they've gotten themselves into. Okay, so the breach is finally working. It's going to take a lot of those, unfortunately. And yes, I am basically leaving them out of the fight. There's almost nothing to this fight. I mean... Frankly, I'm not quite sure what to say, because it's just such an easy fight. You can watch Gafgarion slaughter goblins for a while. And he's... Well, had he been hit, he'd have been completely healed by now, anyway. Oh, and that one takes as well. Maybe the haste is helping. Actually, no. I'd see it in the percentage chance, so this is just me getting luckier. Black Goblin has actually run away because of the AI. So maybe I can sneak in there. Yeah, I'll whack this guy for 20, and then I'll head over and see how close I can get to Boko. Oh, I can stand right next to him. So now they can't actually attack Boko, so we've pretty much secured the win. So there goes the suspense right out of the fight again. And actually, he's already hasted, so another haste would be kind of wasteful, because all she's going to do is try to haste people. Might as well haste the others over there, I guess. That'll catch the goblin, but I don't really care. He's going to be dead in 2 seconds anyway. Now what am I doing? Attacking from the front. Oh, it is 100%. I don't know. Just feels weird to attack from the front. Whoa. Okay, so, I'd forgotten about the elemental effect on that. Only something like a 25% chance of that going off, and... Oh, so... Apparently I targeted the, square, not the unit, so... That was a doubly bad move. Man, these goblins aren't even in range of Gafgarion yet. He's got one down in critical range. Okay, if you keep failing on this, this is going to be a lot longer than I'd hoped it would be. Yeah, and the Paralyzed Goblin is running straight to Gafgarion, so I managed to give him yet another goblin to take on. Although I think he's about to finish this one, so he'll be back down to 3. Though, again, it's not like any have hit him. I don't know how much I can talk about Preach, to be honest. This is like the one thing that it's ever going to be useful for in the entire game. And yeah. Haste is gone. I'll have to recast that. I'm not going to move him, so I'll just attack from the front. That's actually really nice, because otherwise I was about to eat a counter. .79% chance now, so the preaching is having an effect, although most of it's temporary. And I might as well land a heal on my thief, because he can just get hit a couple times. And I probably want to get Boko healed up, just on the off chance that something weird happens. and Agrius can go take out this guy. Hey, wait a second. That's cold, Agrius. Smashing my own guy with Status Sword? It's in critical range now. I mean, she did take out the goblin, but I guess we know how she feels about Timothy. This is not critical anymore. Idotia? And he's also blocked. These goblins are not having a good day. Not that they were going to. I mean, I think the total here would have been 30. Oh, okay, so they do finally get their first hit. But the total damage that they could have gotten from those two would have been about 30, and he's gonna get it all back for this one attack. So yeah, Gafgarion, capable of taking on armies of imps. When we get TG Sid later, maybe I'll try that out with him. Maybe you should try the pamphlet, Ramba. Can't even talk. Ramba? What am I thinking of? Oh. That was with a 79% chance. That's just terrible luck. Well, I guess I can't complain. The goblins have had terrible luck as well. Although one might suggest that walking into Gafgarion was probably a big mistake, and that no amount of luck would have overturned that. Get rid of this one. So there's no one anywhere near Boko. Just head over and finish off the last few goblins. He's still got a lot of damage on him from Agrius. She really, really did not care. Try not to suck this time, Ilya. There we go. Much better. So since this is a pretty quiet point, maybe I'll just talk about what I'm trying to do for the rest of the chapter. Like I said, I'm working on getting Ramza and Timothy to the point where they can be lancers. You can actually buy spears once you get to Lionel Castle, so I'll probably do that. Archer is pretty strong for basically the armor and the spear because it has range too, so you can hit things and they can't counter you back. And on top of that, I really want to use Lancer for some of the really key fights, like the one where Ramza has to duel Gafgarion, and then later he has to duel Ygraf, and in those ones I want him to have a ton of HP, so I want to get some points into the class earlier so that he's not a terrible Lancer, because it'd be nice to have something like jump with maybe a range of 3 or so. And on the other hand, Ilya I'm turning into a summoner, and that's because you can really abuse summoners later on in the chapter for some of the really tough fights. Particularly I'm thinking of the Gul'Baran execution site, and also one after... No. Yes, it is the one right after that where you fight Gafgarion, actually. So for those two, well, I'm going to be abusing summoners there. I think Ilya, however, won't be doing that on Gul'Baran, so... She's kind of got a mixed role on this squad. She's a thief, but she's also a caster. Now, meanwhile, I don't really have a whole lot that I need to do with Suzanne. She's kind of set for the chapter already. She's got a bunch of points in the summoner, and she'll actually get a whole pile just by watching Ilya, and I think actually Ramza's going to be a summoner eventually too. She'll just watch those, she'll get the spillover JP from them, so she'll be set. So I'm actually working her towards Calculator right now, and that's a really long-term project. Like, I'm thinking I'll need a Calculator in Chapter 4. It's not probably going to be important in Chapter 3, but 4 you need to start being pretty abusive to to get through some of those fights. Although, I guess you could say that you need that at the very end of Chapter 3. And what else? Oh, Gafgarion has been hit again. Probably the only 12 damage. And I guess bringing my Oracle in might not have been the best of ideas here. But it's kind of hard to care too much. Gafgarion's dude would die, but I can't get to him, so let's hit the other goblin. Man, they just have no luck. Speaking of no luck. Ooh, a treasure. Also, Agrius is just hanging out with Boko. It's kind of weird. Probably shouldn't do this because I'm gonna... never mind. Of course, nothing's gonna go right for these goblins. As I was saying, Agrius is hanging out with Boko. I've actually noticed there are a couple fights when she is a guest where her AI chooses to guard a character rather than participating if the fight is moved away from that character. This appears to be one of those cases. Could happen in Zirkiel Falls too, depending on where Ovelia is, and so on. It would be kind of nice if she just came over and finished these goblins though, because this is just dragging out. Not that I mind too much, I mean I need to get as many of these preaches off as possible so that Ilya can become a caster, but still, I don't really need to hang out in the Goblin Forest any longer. Speaking of which, looks like there's just that one over here left. Can't get to him. Check the AT list, and Gafgarion will probably finish him off. So I guess I'll chakra. Or not, because I'm full. Okay, I'll just stand here. And get hit, I guess. 10 damage. Preaching to the bitter end. Need every point. It's going to take something, I'd say at least somewhere on the order of 12 of those going off before she's in shape to be a decent caster. But at least the fight's over. Gafgarion goes in with the straight-up melee swing. Alright, well that's it. That finishes Araguay Woods. Probably the easiest fight in the game. Next up we have something slightly more interesting. We have Zirkiel Falls, which... well, Delita comes back, so there'll be that. Stick around.